There are wounds that don't show up on X-rays, invisible to others, yet loud and relentless within. Trauma is not just about what happened to you. It's about how your body and mind had to survive when there was no space to process the pain. Many of us carry hidden scars. The fear of abandonment, the urge to please, the panic in silence. And over time, these patterns become part of who we think we are. But they're not. You are not your trauma. You are the one who endured it. In this video, we're not just talking about trauma. We're talking about how to finally face it. Drawing from deep psychology and the work of Jung and Freud, we'll explore what trauma truly is and offer 5 concrete tools to begin healing. Because understanding is only the first step. Transformation begins when you choose to turn toward what hurts and stay. There's a reason emotional pain lingers for years, even decades. It's not just about what happened. It's about everything we couldn't express at the time. The confusion, the rage, the helplessness. These emotions didn't disappear. They simply went underground, hiding in the nervous system, shaping our reactions, our relationships, and even our sense of identity. Emotional journaling is a gentle but radical act, the act of giving form to what was once formless inside you. When you write, you invite emotions to come to the surface, not to judge them, but to witness them. And witnessing is powerful, because most trauma isn't caused just by pain, but by pain experienced in isolation. Emotional journaling lets you stop being alone with it. This isn't about writing a memoir or analyzing your past. It's not about being eloquent or poetic. It's about raw truth. Some days you might write pages, other days just a sentence. I feel numb today, and I don't know why. That's enough. Because every word you write is a way of building safety with yourself. You might notice over time that certain memories repeat. Certain phrases keep coming back. No one listened. I had to be the strong one. It was my fault. These are clues, not of your weakness, but of where healing needs to begin. The story you tell yourself about what happened can begin to shift, not by denial, but by deeper understanding. One especially powerful technique is letter writing. Write a letter to someone from your past, a parent, a friend, even your younger self. You don't need to send it. In fact, you shouldn't. This letter is for you. It's a container for the truths you never got to say out loud. The act of writing these words, even if angry, confused, or incoherent, helps release the emotional charge stuck behind them. Journaling also reconnects you with your body. As you write about certain events, notice how your body responds. A tightening in the chest, shallow breathing. That's your nervous system surfacing its truth and simply acknowledging it. I feel tension when I write this. Builds emotional awareness, the foundation of healing. Eventually, journaling becomes more than a tool. It becomes a ritual, a daily moment where you check in, not with who you pretend to be, but with who you actually are. It's a way of saying, I'm listening now. And that's something your pain has been waiting to hear for a long time. As Carl Jung suggested, healing isn't about perfection. It's about becoming whole. Emotional journaling is the beginning of that wholeness. Word by word, line by line, you begin to reclaim the parts of yourself that once had no voice. Write for yourself. Write what was never said, because once it's written, it no longer controls you. It begins to release you. There are parts of you that logic can't reach. Feelings that don't respond to analysis, memories that don't speak in words, wounds that aren't linear. This is where active imagination becomes a doorway. Originally developed by Carl Jung, this practice is a bridge between the conscious mind and the unconscious, a way to engage directly with the emotional truths that live beneath the surface of your awareness. Unlike daydreaming, active imagination is intentional. You don't just let your mind wander. You invite an image, a symbol, or a feeling to step forward from within you, and then you stay with it. You give it a voice. You let it speak. For example, close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Now think about something that's been emotionally difficult. A situation, a memory, or even just a sensation in your body. Don't try to solve it. Just ask. What image comes to mind? It could be anything. A crying child, a locked door, a forest, a storm. Let that image appear, and then begin a silent conversation. What does it feel? What does it want? What is it afraid of? You might be surprised by what shows up. Your mind might resist at first. But if you stay present, without judging or forcing, something inside you will begin to speak in its own symbolic language. This practice helps bypass the filters of logic and enter the realm where trauma actually lives. The emotional and imaginal layer of the psyche. Often people find that what they've struggled to explain for years becomes clear through a single image. A dreamlike scene might capture decades of pain. A symbolic figure might express an emotion you've never been able to name. Active imagination isn't about fantasy. It's about integration. It allows you to witness the fragmented parts of yourself that have been operating silently in the background. Jung called these parts complexes, emotional clusters that act like sub-personalities. By engaging with them directly, you invite them out of the shadows and into the light of consciousness. And there's no right outcome. Sometimes the image disappears. Sometimes it gets louder. Sometimes it shows you something beautiful. Other times, something disturbing. But in every case, what matters is that you stayed with it, that you didn't run away or numb yourself. Over time, this practice can change how you relate to yourself. Instead of being hijacked by unconscious reactions, you begin to recognize the voice behind them. You begin to see that even your fear has a face. Even your anger has a message. And when you truly listen, the energy trapped in those emotions begins to soften. Active imagination is not a quick fix, but it is a profound one. It asks for your presence, your patience, and your willingness to feel without controlling. And in return, it gives you access to parts of yourself that were waiting to be seen, heard, and finally, healed. When we sleep, something remarkable happens. The strict control of our conscious mind loosens, and the deeper layers of our psyche begin to speak. Not in sentences or logic, but in symbols, emotions, and imagery. Dreams are not random noise. They are messages from the unconscious, a part of us that holds the emotional truth we often can't face in waking life. Carl Jung saw dreams as the psyche's natural way of seeking balance and integration. He called them the royal road to the unconscious, not because they were mystical, but because they were honest. While we may lie to ourselves during the day, the dream speaks without censorship. It reveals what's unresolved, what's feared, and what's silently longed for. Dream analysis is not about decoding dreams like a fixed formula. There is no universal dictionary of dream symbols. A snake might mean fear to one person and transformation to another. A recurring nightmare might reflect unresolved trauma, or a part of you begging for attention. The key is personal meaning. What does this symbol evoke in you? Start by writing down your dreams as soon as you wake up. Keep a journal next to your bed. Even fragments matter. A single image, a mood, a color. Ask, what was the emotional tone? Were there characters or places I recognize? Was I active or passive in the dream? Did something feel familiar or completely new? These clues point toward parts of yourself you might not consciously access. For example, if you keep dreaming of being chased, it could reflect an avoided emotion, something you're running from in waking life. If you often find yourself lost in a house or city, perhaps there's a feeling of confusion or lack of direction. The unconscious uses the familiar to point toward the hidden. One powerful technique is free association. Take a key image from your dream, let's say a locked door, and ask yourself, what does this door remind me of? Where in my life do I feel shut out or stuck? Let your thoughts flow without judgment. Often, your mind will circle back to a memory, a person, or a situation that echoes the emotional tone of the dream. This is where the real insight begins. You may also notice recurring themes. Dreams of falling, being unprepared, being watched, or trying to speak but having no voice. These are not just anxiety responses. They are symbols of deeper emotional patterns. The dream doesn't waste time with surface-level problems. It goes straight to the heart. Importantly, dreams are not always traumatic. Sometimes they offer guidance, creativity, or even healing. You may dream of a wise figure offering comfort, or a place that feels deeply safe. Jung believed that these archetypes, universal images like the mother, the shadow, the hero, arise when the psyche is trying to restore balance. A nurturing dream may come precisely when your waking life feels most harsh. A symbolic death may mark the end of an identity that no longer serves you. Another layer to dream analysis is recognizing the multiplicity of the self. In dreams, we often encounter others, people we know, strangers, animals. Often, these are not about those people at all. They are reflections of inner parts of ourselves. The angry stranger might be your repressed rage. The crying child could be the vulnerable part of you that needs care. Understanding this allows you to see that the dream world is not foreign. It is you, speaking in disguise. Over time, analyzing your dreams builds a bridge between the known and the unknown. It teaches you to trust your intuition, to listen beyond logic, and to respect the inner world with the same seriousness you give the external one. And most importantly, it helps you become more whole. Dreams won't always give easy answers. Sometimes they raise more questions. But in asking those questions, in sitting with the images, rather than dismissing them, you begin to reclaim the dialogue with your deeper self. So the next time you wake up from a strange dream, don't push it away. Ask it why it came. Ask what part of you needed to be seen. Because while the dream may vanish in daylight, its message lingers, waiting for you to listen. Not all pain can be spoken. Some wounds exist in the body and soul in ways that language can't fully reach. That's where symbolic rituals come in. Not as superstition, but as powerful psychological tools that help us process and release emotional energy stored deep within. In trauma recovery, symbolic action allows us to do something that our logical mind alone cannot: to close a loop, to externalize the pain, and to give form to what felt formless inside. One of the most accessible and transformative symbolic rituals is letter writing, not to be sent, but to be expressed. Write a letter to someone who hurt you, or someone you lost, or even to a version of yourself you've abandoned. Say everything you've never said. Let the anger speak. Let the grief pour out. Once it's written, you can burn the letter, tear it into pieces, or bury it, not out of hate, but as a way of saying, "This no longer needs to live inside me." Another ritual involves drawing or painting your pain. Don't worry about being artistic. The goal is not beauty, but expression. Use colors, shapes, or even chaotic scribbles to depict what your pain would look like if it had form. Then, if it feels right, destroy it. Crumple the paper, cut it, burn it, safely. These physical acts create a sense of completion the mind alone often cannot achieve. Symbolic closure is especially powerful when there's been no real closure in life. For example, maybe someone passed away suddenly. Maybe you never got the apology you needed. Or maybe a chapter of your life ended before you were ready. A ritual? Lighting a candle, saying a few final words aloud, creating a small goodbye ceremony, can offer the emotional closure your reality didn't allow. Jung often emphasized the importance of the symbolic life. He believed that healing requires more than insight. It needs participation of the whole being. Symbols bypass the rational defenses of the ego and speak directly to the unconscious. They allow transformation to happen not just intellectually, but somatically and emotionally. One deeply healing ritual is the creation of a symbolic object. A token, a stone, a written phrase on a small card, representing the strength you've gained or the burden you're ready to release. Carry it with you for a few days. Then, when you're ready, leave it somewhere meaningful, a park, a trail, even a river, as a gesture of letting go. These small acts create a moment of transition that the nervous system can register. They say, something has shifted. Importantly, symbolic rituals are not magic. They don't erase pain overnight. But they do give your body and unconscious mind the signal that change is happening, that a boundary has been drawn between the past and the present, and for many, that's the beginning of true emotional freedom. Whether it's a letter burned, a drawing destroyed, a stone released, the meaning isn't in the act itself. It's in what it represents to you. And when that meaning is real, the ritual becomes a turning point. So if you felt stuck in a memory, in a feeling, in a story you've lived too long, ask yourself, what ritual could help me release this? You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a moment of presence, intention, and the courage to say, this ends here. Because some things can't be solved. They must be released. And the act of releasing them, even in silence, can become one of the most profound steps toward healing. Trauma doesn't live only in memory. It settles into the body, in the muscles that tighten without reason, the breath that shortens at the slightest stress, the nervous system that stays on high alert even when there's no threat. For many, talk alone isn't enough. That's why somatic practices, physical, body-centered approaches, are essential for healing. When you've experienced emotional pain, especially over long periods, your body learns to brace. You may not notice it, but the tension becomes chronic. Shoulders stay hunched, the jaw clenches, sleep becomes shallow. These are not flaws, they are adaptations. Your body did what it had to do to keep you safe. But healing begins when we teach it that safety has returned. One of the simplest, yet most effective tools is breath-aware walking. Walking slowly and consciously, paying attention to each footstep and each breath. Not with your phone, not rushing, just walking and being present. This is not about clearing your mind or seeking enlightenment. It's about reconnecting with your body as it moves through space. Feel your heel touch the ground. Feel the shift of weight to your toes. Notice how your breath changes as you move. If your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring it back to the rhythm of your steps. This walking with embodied awareness sends signals to your nervous system that you are no longer trapped in the past. You are here, now, and you are in control. Another practice is slow, intentional movement, such as stretching, swaying, or lying on the ground and simply noticing how your body feels. Again, the goal is not performance. It's permission. Permission to feel, to soften, to release. Some people benefit from conscious walking practice outdoors, ideally in nature. The movement, the air, the sensory input all help regulate a dysregulated system. Even 5 to 10 minutes a day can begin to shift long-held patterns of tension. The point is not intensity, it's consistency and presence. The body stores trauma in very specific ways. It remembers what the mind forgets. That's why mindful walking or gentle somatic awareness can access emotions that words never could. Sometimes, simply noticing that your shoulders are tight and choosing to relax them is a greater act of healing than hours of inner dialogue. You might also try placing a hand on your chest or abdomen during difficult moments and simply breathing, not to fix anything, but to feel something. This small gesture brings you back into relationship with yourself through the body, not through thoughts or judgment. Jung emphasized that the psyche seeks wholeness, not perfection. But wholeness is not just mental or emotional. It is physical too. When your body begins to feel safe again, your thoughts change, your emotions soften, your sense of identity shifts. You stop identifying with pain and start experiencing presence. It's important to approach these practices gently. Trauma is not just about what happened, but how overwhelming it was for your system. Don't force your body to feel something. Invite it. Stay curious. A small change in posture, a longer exhale, a few slow steps. These can begin the process of resetting your internal landscape. Somatic healing doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with moments of stillness, with sighs of relief, with the realization that you no longer feel like you're constantly in danger. And in those quiet moments, your body remembers something it had forgotten, how to feel safe, connected, and alive. In the end, healing is not just a matter of the mind. It's a return to the body. Not as a machine to control, but as a partner to care for. Through slow, present movement, you learn to live not just from your thoughts, but from your whole being. Step by step, breath by breath, you come home to yourself. Healing from trauma isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about reclaiming what was lost. It's not about erasing the past, but about learning to carry it differently. With awareness, with compassion, and most importantly, with choice. Throughout this journey, we've explored 5 deeply human ways to reconnect with ourselves. We've written what was never said. We've given voice to the images that live beneath our words. We've listened to the dreams that tried to speak for the soul. We've practiced letting go through symbolic acts, and we've remembered that the body, too, holds truth and longs to be listened to. Each of these tools, emotional journaling, active imagination, dream analysis, symbolic rituals, and somatic practices, offers not just insight, but integration. They meet you where you are, without forcing you to be perfect or fully ready. Healing rarely happens in dramatic breakthroughs. More often, it happens in small, repeated acts of self-honesty, and in the quiet decision to stay with yourself, even when it hurts. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." But when you do begin to turn inward, not to analyze yourself like a problem, but to meet yourself like a friend, things begin to shift. The pain you've carried becomes part of your wisdom. The patterns you've repeated become lessons, not prisons. The story you've survived becomes the foundation of the person you are becoming. There is no one-size-fits-all path. There is only your path. And each step you take, whether it's a page you write, a dream you record, a walk you take in silence, is a movement toward wholeness. Remember, trauma may shape us, but it doesn't define us. You are not your fear. You are not your past. You are not what others did to you. You are the one who chooses what comes next. So don't rush your healing. Don't measure it by how much pain is left, but by how much more present you are becoming, how much more choice you now have, how much more honest, tender, and awake you are with your own experience. And when it feels too heavy to continue, pause, breathe, write, move, rest, then try again. Because you are not alone in this. The part of you that broke is also the part that wants to rebuild. And when you begin to listen, truly listen, healing doesn't become something you chase. It becomes something you embody. Not perfectly, but fully. And that is more than enough.